Welcome back. Thank you for joining my channel. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us more than you can know. So if you could just do that for me, I would so much appreciate it. Thank you so much. And if you are already subscribed, thank you so much. I so appreciate your support. Let's continue the journey here. As you can tell, I'm working on the belly here, and I'm using the masking system, and you can see where I've already painted, like this is green, this is gold, and so I've painted green and gold in the gray areas here. And the next step is going to be painting red, and I'm using the painter's guide for that. So this is kind of the pattern here that we're looking for. Keep in mind, some of these are not exactly to proportion. So as you look through some of these patterns on the guide, they're not going to be proportional sometimes, but it's still going to work great. Something else to take note of is the masks here around the phaser banks are, of course, not perfect here, but that's okay. I'm going to paint the phaser banks, so I'm not too worried because the phaser banks will be painted differently when I get to them, and there are different masks for the phaser banks. So this will just kind of help cover up some of the red on that, and once I'm done, we'll fix that and paint it the appropriate color. All right, so let's get started with the painting process, and I'm going to go ahead and just demonstrate painting this red. Now, actually, before I do that, just realized I still need to do a little bit of masking right over here. I know there's some masking here that, there's some parts here that are exposed. All right, before we start painting, let's go ahead and make sure that our masking is where it needs to be. Just want to make sure that we're not missing some of these areas here that need to be masked more accurately. So here we go. Let me just put that down there. And it's a process. So I'm going to just mask this up real quick before we start the painting. Okay, so now I'm not too worried about this area because I'm going to focus over here. And let me just grab the right paint and move the rest of them out of the way. All right, this shouldn't take too long. This shouldn't take too long. Here we go. And there you go. That's it. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to let it dry for just a few minutes, and then I'm going to spray it with some of this matte clear coat from Dupli-Color. I'm finding out now that, and I apologize, I mentioned in a few videos ago that I wasn't quite sure what this was going to do, but I found out through some testing that this, if you just spray it on lightly, it doesn't affect the shimmer. Can't spray it on heavy, just lightly spray it on. And what this will do is this will protect the flakiness of the red shimmering color, so that once it fully cures and dries, you can then put your other mask on it and not worry about when you take it off. Obviously, you still want to use a hot dryer to take off your mask, but you won't have to worry about the flakiness coming off. So recommend it completely. If you're using the shimmering colors like this, get that matte wheel clear coat. I'll leave a link in the description. You need to get this and spray it over to protect the shimmering colors from coming apart when you take the mask off. Okay, let's move on to the next section. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you joining me today. I know it's been a while. There's life that happens, right? But I wanted to show you some of the progress on the ship here. I've already gone through some of the painting on the belly of the ship, the belly of the beast, so to speak. I went ahead and attached this part of the secondary hull housing, deflector housing, just to, give it some contrast between this paint and this paint on this side. I think it looks pretty cool. I did both sides, and as you can see, they're both sides are done. Now, the one part of this that I think I went a little overboard on is the back here. As you can see, it's quite a contrast from everything else. It really stands out. And the reason for that is I went ahead and I stopped using the transparent colors, the polytransfer colors, these shimmering colors. And for the lines, I decided, let me try to make them darker. And I went with just a usual tester's acrylic gold. And unfortunately, they look really dark. And as opposed to, let me show you this side here, these little lines here, which were done strictly with the shimmering colors. So I wish I had used this method on the back here, but I decided, it gives it a little character, it gives it a little shape, and it's almost like a transition between this, the dark green, and then you go over to these colors here, so I thought I'd just leave it as is. All right, so now the next step is going to be the pylons here. So now we get to the pylons. Now I've already started, as you can see, I started the painting process on the grills there on this side and right here. I went ahead and taped everything down, masked it off, and did these grills here. And now I'm moving on to the zigzag pattern that this outside and inside of the pylon should have. Now, this is probably the most difficult part of the refit Aztec process. For the pylons, you're going to need to create an intricate lightning bolt pattern made up of, like, you know, the iridescent blue, gold, and green colors. So, you know, the first step to establish the pattern here is to mask off the pylons. And fortunately, with the mask design set, you've got a good base to start with, because on sheet 7, you literally have what you need to mask off the pylons here. So what I would recommend you do first on this sheet is remove what you don't need, all right? And that's kind of, I've already used parts of this sheet, so let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm gonna go ahead and remove, now I'm gonna leave the number 7 just for reference, so I'm gonna make a little square around it, just so I know, okay, this is sheet 7. Just for my reference, this is absolutely not necessary, but I'm just going to leave it on there. And then remove everything else except what I need, right? So that means, for example, let me show you. I'm going to remove this piece here that I just cut out. And I'm going to continue to do that around what I don't need. So let's continue the process. Let's see here. Here's a corner. I'm going to move that out this way. Here's another corner. There you go. And then here's these corners. I'm going to connect them with a quick little cut. And now let's just remove all this out. There you go. And you want to make sure that you don't lift up the actual pattern itself, right? So because you're going to need to weed off the pattern off this sheet. And when I say weed off, obviously what I'm talking about is using the clear mask over this to pull it off and make sure it's all together. Okay, so we're back, and I just went ahead and did the rest of this off camera, but this is kind of what you want to start with. All the extras taken off. And now you can get your clear masking, right? Your clear sheet, and start cutting where you need to so that you can basically get this piece off together, right? So let's go ahead and take care of that. I'm just gonna kind of eye it here. And so I'm gonna cut this up to this point right here first, using the grid pattern, okay? And then from this point, I'm gonna cut it up down to this particular line right here. Apologize if you can't see exactly what I'm doing here. So let me move this a little bit further up. All right. From here, all I have to do is come up to about right there. So let me eye that. And there we go. We got our first piece off. This isn't pretty. It doesn't have to be. Again, all you really want to do is you want to make sure you got the right side, of course. Fortunately, I do have the right side. And I've got this. There you go. All right, so let's take this off. put the clear on and make sure that I'm covering the tip. Tip to tip here. Got that tip. Don't have exactly the tip down here, but that's okay. This is more than enough. And once this goes down on the ship, we'll be good. We'll be good to go. So I'm just going to make sure I've got some good adhesion between the blue and the clear. There we go. All right, so very important, before I put this section on, I want to mask off these two. And unfortunately, we have mask for these on sheet number 21, right here. So I want to make sure I've got the correct. All right, here we go. We've got this one that goes here, and there's no magic to this. You just take it off, and you make sure that you mask this section off very well. There we go. Perfect. Mask it off. And then, of course, we need to mask off that particular little section there. There's nothing magic about this. It's just a matter of making sure that your shimmering colors don't spill over into the vents, into the little grill vents here on the pylons. All right. And this gray is meant to not be as tacky as the blue. Blue is real tacky. So once you've got a paint on here, you put the gray on, that should leave the paint on, no problem. All right, so now that I've got this going, I'm going to cut this out using scissors so that I've got a really good close cut to the blue mask. As close as I can get with the scissors. I mean, it doesn't have to be like right on top of it or anything, but as close as you can get, especially on the edge that you are going to use to measure this. And as I'm talking, let me show you that I'm going to use this edge here on this line right here. Okay, so let's first cut close, as close as I can, just to get rid of the big pieces here. And then I'm going to come back. I'm going to try to cut just a little bit closer without cutting into the blue. Obviously, if you're using a X-Acto knife or something of that nature, this might be a little easier for you guys with steady hands. My hands aren't that steady, so scissors are fine with me. All right, and the goal here is to put this on that line right there, and it's going to cover this up. That's okay, because that's covered up already, and once you start taking these little pieces out, and there are little pieces on, they're all lightning bolt type pieces, you'll notice the difference. All right, so let's start this process. The first thing I want to do is take this white backing off so that the blue tackiness will begin to show. All right, so I'm going to start doing that as slowly as I can, while trying to keep the blue on to the clear. And sometimes the zigzag will pull up a little. You just bring it back down, rub it a little bit, and then you can bring it back up. See, look, here's zigzag coming down. So there you go. All right. Yeah. They seem to be coming off at the edge here, and where you want to be very careful. Okay, there you go. Now comes the tricky part. The tackiness on the blue tends to stick to your fingers. So you may see some of the blue pop off and come up on my fingers, unfortunately. I'm going to try to avoid that if I can, but let's see what we can do here. I'm going to try using this first. Here we go. I can already feel it. Yep. All right, so I'm going to start from the bottom, but again, see that tackiness? It's coming off on my fingers here, and that's really, really bothering me, especially right here at the tip. Ugh. No. Yeah, I didn't want that to happen. Truly didn't want that to happen. All right, let's see if I can just align this. All right. And guess what? I'm going to have to do this again 3 more times. So there you go, my friends. It's easy, but it's hard, right? So I got one piece here on this finger and one piece that's stuck to this finger. Fortunately, there are only 2 pieces, so I know exactly where to put them. Not that, hopefully won't be a big problem. But there you go. Of course, this would be much easier if my ship were not glued together. Like if I had just this piece that I was working with on flat, it might be a little easier. That does make it somewhat more challenging, but we're okay. Now here's another challenge. Let's remove the clear and see how far we can get removing this clear here. Let's start from this tip. All right, good. All right, wonderful. Clear has been removed. Now all I have to do is kind of put these 2 pieces back where they belong. There it is. All right, there's the 1 down, 1 to go. All right, let's see, I think I had this one this way, so let's grab it like this first. There we go. All right. Voila. And there you have it, my friends. The installation of the first mask. Now, obviously, this part right here is exposed. There are some masks for this forward lip area here of the pylon, which I'm going to also add on. And then we will start the painting process one at a time. And for the painting process, I am going to start by using the Trek Modeler guide as far as the pattern is concerned. So I'll go ahead and mark each individual tile here, a lightning bolt pattern with just a little mark, so I can know, you know, the blue, this is where it's going to go. And then once that's done and once it's cured, I'll cover that with some of the gray masking that was provided, a duplicate set in gray so that it's not as tacky. You cover the painted piece and then you move on to the next color, which would be green, I believe, and then gold at the end. All right, so I'm going to take care of that, and we'll show you what that looks like in the next update. But for now, I just wanted to show you the masking piece and on the pylons and how I did it with this body already intact, which is what some of you are doing already. You've got a body that's intact, so you're doing this way. And it's not impossible. But I will tell you, I've come a long way on this ship, you know, from this 12-year-old self of mine. This is a 1980 picture, May 22nd, 1980, USS Enterprise picture I took. I was so proud of the stick-on stickers on the nacelles that made it look kind of like a rainbow, and the ship, the way it looked. I was just so proud of building that I wanted to take a quick picture of it. What a long way we've come, my friends, right? Now look at this. All right. We will see you at the next update, and I appreciate if you would like, subscribe, and share if you appreciate this content, and follow me on my journey on building the 1/350 scale USS Enterprise. We'll see you next time.